Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, now it's recording. Okay.
Okay. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to our presentation. Our topic is switching from contributory negligence to comparative negligence, and my name is Victoria, and I'm followed by my teammates.
Andrew Wang. Hello.
And Ben, that's me.
Okay.
All right. So I'll be starting. First, we cover the basics. What exactly are contributory and comparative negligence? They're both models of tort law, or laws that determine how people can seek monetary compensation for wrongdoing committed against them. Contributory negligence is the system in which the plaintiff can't claim any compensation if they're found to be any part at fault for the loss they're requesting reparations for. And a comparative negligence is the system in which the plaintiff will receive less compensation the more they're at fault, and vice versa. There are two main types: pure and modified. In pure, it just works exactly as said, but in modified, when the plaintiff's level of fault reaches a particular amount determined by the state law, then there's similar to contributory negligence, they're completely barred from any reparations. And on the right is a chart listing each state that uses each tort system.
So for our approach, we looked at 9 cases in total. 6 of them were specifically from Maryland, and 4 of these 6 were specifically automobile accidents, and the other 2 were just basic injury accidents. And then for our last 3, we looked at cases from other states where basically the judge decided to switch from contributory negligence to comparative negligence. And with these cases, we looked at the backgrounds, involved parties, and the judge's decision and their reasoning. And basically, the summary was that contributory negligence has a very extreme nature, which can be unfair to plaintiffs during some situations. And then it also discourages defendant accountability, because even the smallest fault can leave the defendants with 0 punishments and 0 compensations for the plaintiffs. So overall, contributory negligence is an outdated doctrine, and we just hope that in the future it will get switched out eventually in the state of Maryland.
And some facts to consider are that from the other cases, like how they looked at previous states and how they switched as well, and also the economic impact as it puts more pressure on business to make their products safer, and also public perception and how people view the change in Maryland, as well as how Victoria talked about how people can now claim compensation even if they have low level faults. This is more fair because before they'd be barred from reclaiming compensation even if they're only like 10% at fault. And also impact on defendants. Fair negligence may reduce the risk of plaintiffs recovering large errors if they're partly at fault, which might be more equitable for defendants.
And that is basically the end of our presentation. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Thank you for Victoria, Benjamin, and Andrew. I think it's a great presentation, and it covers all the aspects we talk about, like from that switch. And it's really, clear to me. So really appreciate that. And anybody have any questions to their presentation? Okay, thank you very much. So this concludes your presentation. We're going to move to a new group, and group
Group 7.
7, right?
Yes.
Legal catalytic converter step. So Barry, Jolene, and Yudie.
Jolene, do you think you could share the presentation for me? Because my computer's broken and won't let me do it.
Yeah, okay, I can try. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so our group's project was combating vehicle catalytic converter theft, and my name's Jolene.
And I'm Sophia. I don't think our partners Yudi and Barry are here, so we'll just take over their parts for them. Okay.
Oh, I think Barry's here.
Oh, okay.
Barry, are you here? Turn on your camera. Okay. So
Okay. So you guys might be wondering what a catalytic converter is. So they are these devices located under vehicles, and what they essentially do is convert the harmful waste that comes out of your cars, such as carbon monoxide, and they reduce that into CO2, which is less harmful for the environment. And these converters are integral to a vehicle's exhaust system. But recently there has been an uptick in their thefts due to the precious metals they contain. And because of this, catalytic converters are really expensive and can sell for up to $1,000. Thus, we need to develop a method to combat their theft.
So the problem is that thieves, mainly car hijackers and people who target catalytic converters, they are stealing these devices because of their high market value, and replacing these stolen catalytic converters can be very expensive for both businesses and for customers. So on average, it costs around theft victims $1,000 to $2,500, which is insane. And the theft scope is widespread, and over 27,000 cases have been reported of catalytic converter theft just in last year, 2023. So the problem is that once these catalytic converters are stolen, they're hard to identify, which prompts the need for a national registry of catalytic converters. So just to go over some similar legislation that's been passed in the past. So a legislation has been passed where it requires records of junk dealers, scrap metal processors, and automotive dismantlers and recyclers to include certain information about the vehicle from where a catalytic converter is sourced from. So this just adds another level of security and information to the origins of catalytic converters to further prevent theft, as well as thieves from selling these catalytic converters secondhand. However, this bill is more focused on passive protection, while creating a national registry of catalytic converters will be more upfront and active defense of this of preventing the catalytic converter theft. And we will be creating a database and examining through the database and then covering suspicious transfers of catalytic converters.
So for the solution, what we decided on was, since the previous bill, HB 871, was not tracking like it wasn't able to track every transaction of a catalytic converter. So what our proposed bill is trying to do is create a database of a registry of every sale that is sold that includes a catalytic converter, and then those sales are given to the Motor and Vehicle Association, and someone there will go over all the transactions and see if there's an excessive amount of sales from one dealer, and we'll have that dealer which will help figure out if that dealer is possibly illegally obtaining those catalytic converters.
And that brings us to the feasibility of this bill. So to understand the feasibility of implementing this bill, we looked at three topics: economic, social, and legal feasibility. So for economic, we understand that implementing this catalytic converter registry can be costly, with software engineers and IT managers in play to orchestrate this entire thing, as well as additional police force to go out and possibly apprehend suspects if we find suspicious activity. So we understand that there needs to be substantial funding for this project, which is why for economic feasibility, we looked at Maryland Governor Westmore's budget to see if there is any room and space for this bill to be in place economic wise. As for social feasibility, we looked at how many people the government will need to employ. So like I said, software developers, IT staff, administrative workers, and also a legal/compliance team. And to understand the social aspect of this, we've seen a large boom in the saturation of these fields. So we believe that the social aspect of this bill will be covered through workers who are currently employed in the field. And as for legal feasibility, we understand that the establishment of a catalytic converter registry would involve creating additional legislation to mandate registration and tracking of catalytic converter sales. So this will currently alter existing legal structures, as well as can actually have the bill be adapted to integrate the registry into existing systems. And this can also help existing legislation, such as the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency program for converter replacement. They have regulations on when to replace a vehicle's catalytic converter, because it might be unsafe for a vehicle to have a catalytic converter up to 5 years without replacing it. So having this registry could also additionally help us keep track of cars which need to have their catalytic converters replaced. And that's all. So if there are any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Julian, Sophia, and Barry. I think when you started this project, I know it's a little confusing, right? Because you have one bill in front of you already, which passed the House and signed by the governor. And because then you figure out there's a different, right? You see there's a like proactive one. There's the one we had right now is not really the proactive as we want to be. So I'm really glad to see you guys actually understand the complexity about the bill. At the same time, you see a tiny change in terms of how we can improve the life of the car owners can be significant, right? Just think about each 27,000 cars set. Each one costs 1,000 to 2,500. It's around like $30 million even more than, right? So what's the right? Probably $50 million a year cost the car owners. That's huge money. So I think it will be a program if we can reduce that theft by a dramatic amount by this registry. That really deter the theft in terms of how can this, if they couldn't sell it, right? They will not steal it. That's very straightforward. So any other question from other people? Judy, if you have any question, just raise your hand, just speak, and if you want.
Yeah, I actually have a question. I really liked your proposed solution. I would love to hear a little bit more about how you came to this particular solution as opposed to maybe some other ones that you had.
Because I'm a data scientist, right? I always look at the data. I say, well, how can we take advantage of the data? But right now we don't have that data in one place. And then if one think about a situation, what will happen now? If one sell their stolen converter at different locations, and you have no idea, right? Maybe they sell 5 here, 10 there. But if it's in one, they have one database shows that seller sold like 10 or 20 in a month, definitely that's very suspicious, right? Then we can ask attorney in general office to investigate the situation. Say, is that normal? And that can be very convenient tool to help them to fight this theft issue. That's how I come out with this idea. So, yeah.
Sounds great. Yeah, no, I really agree. I think a database somehow is the solution to everything because you have everything in one place. So, great idea.
Okay, thank you. So, this concludes the presentation to this group 7, I think. Now we're moving to 11, right? 11.
Actually, topic 10.
Oh, topic 10. Yeah. Okay. 11. We did 11 already, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Topic 10. I think Barry, I don't know, maybe sometime my name on the list is not updated on my side. So Barry, Elisa, Nicholas.
Nicholas couldn't make it today. He had some.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay.
Barry, you're screen sharing the slides, right?
Yeah. I actually don't know how to screen share.
Okay.
There's a button at the end called share. Click that button, then share your screen.
Oh,
Put it in full screen mode. Yeah, go ahead.
okay. So our topic is about the regulation for phone usage in elementary and middle schools.
So just as an introduction, children in this generation have become increasingly reliant on phones, especially in the past decade or so, because technology has been developing really rapidly. And the presence of phones in schools has become a really big concern for parents, students, and teachers. And also, there's like lots of concerns regarding the usage of social media for children. So as a result, many states and counties and even at the federal level, there's been action to regulate phone usage at school. So in Maryland specifically, we took a look at the existing regulatory legislation, and we noticed that there was a bill, Senate Bill 112, which was actually introduced just this year, but it was it ended up the bill is dead now. So we're looking to propose another similar bill which can regulate phone usage for elementary and middle schoolers. And we also noticed that in some of Maryland's counties, they've already been implementing regulations which regulate the usage of phones. And we also, in summary, we noticed that like the types of regulations kind of differ across different grades. So for example, in elementary school, the regulations are a lot stricter. Typically, students aren't allowed to use phones at all. And that's because younger students, social media and phone usage tends to affect their development more than in older students. And also younger students might not know how to properly use phones or might not know how to responsibly use them. So we need to have stricter regulations for younger children. And regarding like middle and high schoolers, typically the regulations are looser and students can sometimes use them during breaks or like on the school bus.
So there's obviously neural effects or effects to health by having phones being allowed in schools for students at such a young age, such as elementary and middle school. And while they're still growing, it could affect them for a lifetime. And we're gonna only list a few results here, a few things here, since there's also a lot of other bullet points that were too big to really fit in here. So I'll only mention a few. So things like texting, social media, and video games have produced deleterious effects towards academic performance, and multitasking in class has led to lower GPAs. Blue lights, you've probably heard of that, have affect not only your vision, but can also affect your sleep. And obviously there's things as addiction, less exercise, less sleep, as previously mentioned. There's anxiety and FOMO, or fear of missing out. There's bad standards with comparing yourself on social media, and that also leads to less face-to-face interaction. And generally, students that reported higher levels of internet usage received lower scores in school. And once again, here's a few bullet points for statistics or survey results for students, parents, and educators. I also didn't put too many things on here just for the sake of simplicity. And for students, the average age of a student getting a phone is roughly 10 years old. And 71% of high schoolers believe middle schoolers shouldn't have phones, and 92% of high schoolers believe elementary schoolers shouldn't have phones. And this is because high schoolers are roughly in the same environment as a middle school or elementary school. They're still in a primary school and have a phone in school, and they themselves already know the detrimental effects that having a phone in a class would entail on someone even younger than them. And for parents, 82% of middle school parents don't want their kids to have a phone, and 91.4% parents believe that phone usage rules in schools are reliable and should be followed, which is why we believe that this bill will be helpful. And 76.19% of teachers under the educators category overall believe that phones are an issue, and that also includes high school. So that 71.9% is also from high school teachers, and 33% of middle school teachers and 6% of elementary school teachers only find phones to be a problem. However, the thing is, as previously mentioned, in the students category, average age of a student getting a phone is now 10 years old. So this number is actually projected to go upwards in the following years if we don't do something about it. And oh yeah, okay.
Finally, we propose an approach which kind of has different regulations depending on age and grade. And so because I believe Delegate Wu wanted us to focus on elementary and middle school, our approach applies to regulating phone usage for elementary and middle school students. So as previously mentioned, elementary school students aren't as responsible and are more developmentally affected by phone usage compared to middle school students. So we have stricter regulations for them. So we propose that elementary school students should not be allowed to bring their phones to school unless for special occasions, such as like a bring your own electronics day, or an alternative option, which could be a little more lenient, would be to allow them to bring the phones to school in case they need to use it for emergencies. But they would still not be allowed to use it during class hours. And for middle school students, we propose that they're only allowed to use their phones during break periods and lunch. And during class time, their phones should be put away. And if they're caught with phones, then they should face consequences for that.
Yeah, I guess that goes to our Q&A.
Okay, thank you, Barry and Elisa. It's a great presentation. You covered what the impact of using phone, and then you have data from students and teachers, and then the parents. I think that's very convincing. Look at that. Then you propose an approach. I think that's really helpful. I really appreciate that. I learned a new term as well. What's the term? Like FOMO? So it's good. I think the young kids use that, right? So, and it's great. So I really appreciate this research work. It's a great job. Yeah. So anybody have a question on this?
I have a question. So Alyssa, you mentioned a bill that got killed last year, similar bill. Can you repeat the number?
It was Senate Bill 112. It was introduced in January this year and killed in April.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, we're going to contact the senator and to work out. Maybe we should have like house side version as well. So, okay. So I think that concludes the presentation for this group. Great job. Let's move.
Actually, I have a question. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead. Yeah, Julie.
Yeah, I was actually really curious. You guys had a really great presentation, and I really appreciated the statistics. I was kind of curious if you guys had any thoughts about like enforcing some kind of regulation like this. I feel like sometimes there's a disconnect between like a rule that says, you can't have your phones, and then being in an actual classroom and the teacher kind of having to execute that rule. So sometimes like if there's like 30 people in a class, it can be really hard for one teacher to keep a tab on everybody. So I was kind of curious if you gave that any thought, the disconnect between the policy itself and then the teachers enforcing that policy.
I think, Julie, that's a great question, right? Because we don't want teacher to be the people to enforce the regulation. It's really should be school administrator to handle that. Otherwise, that's the reason teachers are facing now. They try to enforce like phone usage rules, and they're not really across this whole school system. They don't have the same rule. Some school like a little leniency, some other school may stricter, and then that cause the issue. I think as long we got a clear, better rule in terms of how when we should use the phone. I think that's really what the bill tried to propose. Have a clear rule, easy to be implemented by the administrator, not the teachers. I think that will be help really address the issue we're facing now.
Sure, thanks. I don't know if Barry and Elisa, you had any more thoughts.
Okay, so based on my research, I think so far what a lot of schools are doing is they're still having the teachers enforce it, and they're doing it by buying like phone pouches where there's like 30 or 40 pouches, and when each student enters the classroom, they should put their phone in the pouch, and then at the end of the class or at the end of the class period, they're allowed to take their phones. And I think in terms of like having an administrator regulate it, I think that would require school funding for it. So for example, a school could buy like lockers or some other type of container for students to store their phones in at the start of the day.
Yeah, that may be a good idea too. So I really don't know the solution. Right.
Thanks, Lisa. Great work, guys.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to the next one.
Number 13.
Number 13, okay. So Benjamin, Emma, Shava, please go ahead.
I think it's Irene's team, I guess.
Okay.
That's updating school buildings standards.
Yes, updating school building
I'm not
standards.
sure if they're here today.
I think Shava is here. Emma is Emma here?
Michael and Moody. Aaron.
No, that's 14. Local business, supporting local business bill. No tax on local farm product.
No, that's 14. 13 is updating school building standard.
Yeah, that's
They're not here.
we're on 13, right?
Yeah, they're not here.
No, I think Shava is here.
Shava is not in that team.
It's not that team?
Shava, are you in that team?
I'm not in 13, no.
So who is the 13 team?
13 is Irene, Michael, and Moody. None of them are in the Zoom meeting now.
Okay, so
Can we move on to 14?
Okay.
14 is supporting local business bill, no tax on local farm products. Uday, Benjamin, and Dylan are in that team. I saw Benjamin's here.
So Jody, you are host because I think I don't have, probably my list is not the most updated. Yeah. Okay, team 14, go ahead.
Team 14 submitted the report, but I think Ben, are you able to present anything, if not PPT, on behalf of your team today? Benjamin?
I didn't, my group didn't tell me anything about this.
Oh.
So you don't know there will be presentation at the end of the
No, I didn't know for this group. I knew for the other one.
Okay. So let's move to the next one.
Next one is number 15. VG. Actually, I didn't see the final report of this team from this team. This repeal automatic online membership renewal. Michael is not here. Raymond, is Raymond here today? Raymond, if you can update. Oh, Michael just called in. Oh, Raymond probably couldn't join today. So yeah, this team I didn't see report.
Okay, next group.
Next group is the Ryan, Mabel, and Vici about creating inclusive school calendar. That bill. Yeah, they had the final report, but I didn't see none of them in the
Okay.
meeting.
Then 17.
17 is Nicholas. Nicholas like had excused absent today. So the topic is Government Service Access and Accountability Act. Cassie and Justin Marr also in this team. I wonder if any of them can present on their team's behalf.
I can present.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Give me a second. I have to like adjust the settings.
No problem. Yeah, take your time.
And I also see Michael join this meeting. I wonder if Michael can present something on behalf of their number 15 topic 15 team.
Yeah, I can do 14 and 15 after Catherine is done.
Okay.
Sorry for being late.
No worry.
It says I have to leave and rejoin, so
Okay,
should I-
try.
Okay. Can you see?
Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So this is the topic 17, government accessibility and accountability. Nicholas and Justin aren't able to present, so I'll be presenting on behalf of them as well. Just as a summary, accessibility and accountability of government services are crucial to in a increasingly digital world. Citizens need to be able to reach their government to participate in the democratic processes, access essential services, and hold public officials accountable. However, many government portals fall short, lacking comprehensive contact information, user-friendly features, and adherence to technological standards. Our report examines the current state of government accessibility and accountability, focusing on Howard County and Maryland state agencies, and provides recommendations for improvement. As for the Howard County departments, for contact information, the Howard County website provides email addresses and phone numbers for direct communication with the county government as well as the other departments present in Howard County. For online forums, an inquiry form is available for Howard County support, but it lacks transparency and tracking capabilities. As for the department directory, the departments and offices sections list the phone numbers, location, and social media links for specific departments in Howard County as well. As for Maryland, the Maryland agency
directory. For its comprehensiveness, it lists all state agencies with contact information and website links. For the website functionality, all agency websites are functioning and accessible to the general public, and on the internet. For contact information, phone numbers, and some email addresses are provided for each agency. There seemed to be a lack in email addresses for some of the Maryland agencies. As for online forums, they were available, but sometimes disorganized, so kind of hard to navigate as well. For the web portal functionality, there is a variability across states. Studies show significant variability in web portal functionalities across different states, with some having advanced systems while others are less advanced and lag behind. There's also a lack of comprehensive directories. Many state websites lack comprehensive phone or email directories, making it difficult for users to contact agencies directly. So this has a profound impact on citizen trust. The quality of email communication in state agencies can significantly impact governance quality and citizen trust, and through prompt, open, and interactive communication, it helps build public confidence. There also have been challenges within the ADA compliance. So there are inconsistent standards. Expanding on that, government websites face challenges with complying with the Americans with Disabilities Act, with inconsistent accessibility standards across different platforms. There's also a lack of comprehensive tools. Many websites lack the necessary tools to ensure non-discriminatory access for individuals with disabilities, such as people with visual impairment. There's also a need for universal standards. There's a pressing need for universally adopted government accessibility standards to ensure that there's equal access for all citizens. In conclusion, enhanced accessibility can improve ADA compliance and standardizing web portal functionalities, and this will ensure equitable access to government services for all individuals, including people with disabilities. Improved communication is also needed, so enhancing the availability of contact information and implementing user-friendly interfaces will facilitate better communication between the citizens and government agencies. And doing this will increase trust. So by addressing these issues, government agencies can build greater trust and engagement with citizens, ultimately strengthening democratic processes and governance quality. That's it.
Thank you, Kathy. I think it's a great summary, and you really covered a few aspects I'm looking for, like ADA compliance, and then how to hold the government agency accountable in terms they're able to provide their contact, the citizens can contact them. So one aspect I've been always look for is government should provide an email contact, then citizens can contact them. I do find a lot of state agencies, they don't have that, and it's really challenging for some people. They don't want to make a phone call, right? They just want to report a problem, and they don't want to make a phone call, or they want to really send an email at night because they couldn't make a phone call, right? So that's something I really try to really address that. Hopefully by your report, I think it gives us some clarity, and I hope we're going to see what we can do to improve their service for the citizen. Thank you very much. Any questions from the audience? Okay, otherwise, thank you, Kathy. Let's conclude this report from Group 7 team. So Jody, you want to go back to 14?
Go back to 13, like updating school building standards by
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically pretty self-explanatory. We want to propose legislation that would allow for multi-story elementary schools to be built. And while there are no restrictions on multi-story buildings or something against multi-story buildings in current legislation, there's nothing that really um, uh, you know highlights its benefits or encourages it being built. So basically, why do we consider multi-story schools? Space efficiency is the main thing in urban areas, with high population density and limited space. Building multi-story buildings is the norm, and there's no reason that it should be limited to that schools should be limited to one stories in these areas. It allows schools to make the most use of a small plot of land, and some of the concerns with it are accessibility and safety. And we address this, there's been multiple cases of multi-story elementary school buildings in even Maryland. Baltimore is one of these cases, and they've all, successfully implemented, accessibility issues like elevators and fire exits and evacuation routes, all throughout the building so that there are no concerns with safety or, disabilities. And we've actually found that it would be cheaper to expand upon existing schools or build multi-story schools instead of building a whole new school. Um, um, just because there's economies of scale in play here, and in many cases, uh, the the main portions of a building, of the school building, the main facilities can be reused for the first and second stories. And um, if you expand them to be large enough, they can also be used as community centers, as we found in one of the schools in New York. It also serves as a community hub after school hours where the community can come together and use the facilities in the school. Um, yeah, so that's why, this is some of the reasons that multi-story school buildings, have no reason to not be built.
Thank you, Michael. I think, yeah, you have a great summary. I think the report from this group is well written, and you talk about that, and then you have examples from different states, and hopefully we'll see what we can do. I think I feel strongly about this issue because really we don't have enough land available for really wide schools. We want to go to the vertical and have multi-story buildings, make sure we have enough bigger space and for the classroom. And I really hope every classroom have a window to get sunlight. That will another way to create a better learning environment as well. That's I'm strongly supporting that. Okay, thank you. Do you want to present the other groups?
Yeah, another one would be topic 14. I think it's the auto renewal of online subscriptions.
Okay.
And there was no final report for this because we found that, there's already I think it's Senate Bill 1040 cross-filed with House Bill 1049 that already has recommendations on how businesses handle automatic online membership renewal. So basically, our report, the last report we sent in, is one that just takes a look at the key provisions of these two bills and offers some suggestions to make it more strict and based on existing legislation in other states. So one of them is like the definition of clear and conspicuous, which means in California, a larger type than the surrounding text or a contrasting type, font, or color, so that it really offsets and pops and it's easier for consumers to find that unsubscribe button. And Maryland's bill doesn't have anything like that. A couple others are, um, retainable acknowledgement of terms, basically just meaning that businesses have to provide an acknowledgement that includes the offer terms, cancellation policy, and information on how to cancel in a manner that can be retained by the consumer, which Maryland doesn't have. And retainable is just really nice for the consumer to have, to just go back and make it really easy for them to cancel. And yeah, I think there's a few more in our report, a few more smaller ones, but that's basically it.
I see. Thank you. So this is a great suggestion, right? It's kind of just a minor improvement over existing bills. We'll look around, see what we can do. Thank you. So do we have anyone from 15? Otherwise, we're moving to 18, right, Jody?
16 actually. Let's create
Okay.
inclusive school calendar, but I don't see their team here.
Okay, then let's go to 17.
17
We
would
got
be,
it down. Yeah, 18.
yeah. 18 is mandate car manufacturer to set a speed limit.
I think that one we said we're not going to do it, right? Or I forget what's the.
Yeah, I don't see the reports too.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that is done.
Yeah.
So how about 19?
19 is the speeding camera on State Highway Route 32, 20.
Yeah, I'm here to present. Sure.
Okay, thank you. So
hi, so I will be presenting on behalf of my team. Yeah, so I will be discussing all changes made to the bill, or the report. Okay, slideshow. All right, so before we begin with the actual content, I'm just going to keep all the content pretty brief. And before we begin with that, our topic was originally to investigate the speed cameras on the interstate highway, such as 32, 70, 29, and 100. However, we found that a lot of the one that we placed the most emphasis on, Interstate Highway 70, that one like the most troubling area was around like Frederick and Baltimore, which was out of the district of 9A. And we did receive guidance on how to maneuver around that bump. And so we began looking locally towards more places in 9A where we could implement our research. So we basically just took our research in speed cameras and we just applied it to Howard County. All right, so just some background. So speed cameras are just cameras placed in specific areas. Maryland has cameras in school zones and construction sites and other vulnerable or necessary areas to make sure that people are not speeding there. And if they are caught speeding, then they are going to be charged a fine. Just one note, ever since June 1st, 2024, the fine in Maryland for speeding has been changed from $40 to $80, which I will be talking a little bit more about that when I get to the legislative recommendations. All right, and the goal of these speed cameras is to ensure safety and impose consequences when the drivers are driving unsafely to make sure that people are really driving in the speed limit to make sure that the area is safe. And there's additionally a psychological aspect because these speed cameras have consequences attached to them. It builds up better driving habits in the drivers because they're aware and they're used to having consequences for their actions, so they will not be able to do those actions. And a lot of the time, speeding cameras, you just don't see them, so it just builds up better driving habits overall. All right, and for legislative recommendations, so after looking through Howard County, we decided to reach out to the River Hill Village manager, Renee Dubois, and she mentioned that there's a problem in the River Hill Village community. There's these neighborhoods where they face speeding problems, and this speeding problem, it's in, I believe it was Indian Summer Drive, and let me make sure I have the names of the neighborhoods right. But yeah, Indian Summer Drive, Linden, Linthicum, Intersection Loop, and Summer Sunridge Drive. So as a resident of the community and also hearing the complaints from citizens of the River Hill Village community, the village manager has gathered, that this area is definitely one of the most problematic areas where speeding problems occur.
And because River Hill, the village of River Hill is very closely associated to the high school and the other schools in that area, like Clarksville Middle and Clarksville Elementary, these problems also have a risk because these problems have also very explicitly been identified as a hazard to the safety of the high schools roads, and it also extends across the county as these speeding problems are countywide, and they kind of take advantage of the fact that there aren't speed cameras there to impose consequences on the speeders. All right. And our recommendation is that we should have, number one, more data and investigation into local areas. So because we took a very local direction to this case, we found out that there really isn't a lot of data that you can search because this is a very, very thin scope that we're going under. So definitely more data and investigation in these local areas, collecting information so we can have a more concrete report. I think that would be a great way. And also, there were other spots mentioned, several segments of the 108. One was between Route 29 and 108 and Route 32 and 108. Those intersections, that segment does have some problems. And in order to really be able, because these are very niche and specific topics, very specific location based, in order to really get better results from these problems, we need to have more data and investigation in these local areas. And additionally, also Maple Lawn has been mentioned as an area where there should be speeding reform. All right. Another thing that was mentioned was the corridor approach, and this one was actually in our research where we came across this corridor approach. So Montgomery County has actually implemented this, and it's basically having when you have a segment of a road that there's a lot of speeding that you want to make sure that this whole entire segment stays safe. So you would place the camera in a different spot. You would for some amount of time, you would put this camera here and then you would place it in a different spot and you would just keep moving the camera so that people wouldn't be expecting and they would only slow down because they know that the camera's right by this tree. No, now this camera's moved. So it just kind of builds, as we talked about the psychological aspect of building better habits, this corridor approach keeps drivers on their toes and forces them to build consistently better driving habits, and also protects the road as a whole. But this corridor approach is a little more difficult to implement, and it would take a lot of labor as well as more costs for safely moving the speed cameras. In addition, we have a cost-benefit analysis. So obviously, speed cameras, as we all know, we need money for them. And we ran the numbers, and it really depends on the deal that we end up getting for speed cameras. But with inflation, and I've calculated some of the figures from previous plans in Baltimore and Montgomery County, and these are the plans with groups. So with inflation, it would be estimated one speeding camera would be roughly 300 to 400,000, if not more. It would be at least in that range. However, speed cameras, they also generate revenue. And as I mentioned earlier, Maryland has upped the speeding fine, has literally doubled the speeding fine from $40 to $80. So this would mean that if we have the same number of people speeding, then we would have double the revenue. Obviously, we don't want the same number of people speeding, but if speeding still remains a problem, we will be able to generate more revenue than we would have before. So this would definitely cover the costs of the speed cameras because Howard County has been known. There was a report in 2016 where it says that Howard County has made quite some revenue on their speed cameras in school zones alone. So if this area proves to be a problem, and if we're able to implement the corridor approach to really get the drivers to have better driving habits, and in the meantime, we can also raise revenue if there happen to be any speeding problems, the cost of the initial speed camera investments and the maintenance and corridor moving costs, that will all be covered by the higher speeding fines, and it will all be worth it because at the end of the day, we're really just helping our community and bettering the roads and ensuring that we have a safer travel on the roads. So yeah, that's the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Sophie. Yeah, I really appreciate your group's work, especially it's kind of original scope change a little bit, right? So you look around differently, and your group actually can get that research steered away to the original one, to the new one. Actually got a research done. I really appreciate that. I think it's just one reminder for everyone. You're going to drive, or you're driving, right? Or you're seniors. So be careful about driving, right? Speeding is a big problem, or drunk driving. And especially for seniors who are graduating soon, in your graduation season, in general, we definitely see more accidents than before. So pay attention. And that corridor approach is very interesting. We call them mobile speeding camera as well, right? So they move around. You never know when they stay. In the past, if you know that at one location we have speeding camera, people will slow down at their location, then they back up speeding again. But if they're moving around, then people will have that habit, just keep your speed steady under the speed limit. I think that's a great way. But as you said, the cost can be substantially larger than at a fixed location. And yeah, it's great summary. I really appreciate that. And any other questions from anybody here?
I don't really have question, but I really want to point out it's really great for this group to like really reach out stakeholders like Riverview village manager to do their research. That's really, really great approach.
That's right, Jody. Yeah, Sophia, thank you. And because we had a meet and greet in Riverview Village last month, right? There are a few residents come really showed their concerns about the speeding on one way. We definitely want to keep an eye on that, see what else we can do. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move to the next group. Who else? Group 20?
Next group is 20. Jimmy, are you here? It's the
Yeah.
National Infrastructure Bank. Yes, please.
Hi guys, I'm Sophia.
Go ahead, Sophia.
Oh, hi, I'm Sophia, and this is my partner Jimmy. And I'm actually not sure if Mabel is able to make it today, but our topic is number 20, National Infrastructure Bank legislation. So the overview of the project. The National Infrastructure Bank Act of 2023 aims to establish the National Infrastructure Bank, NIB for short, in order to facilitate more efficient investments in infrastructure projects, as well as financing them. And this bill seeks to address significant infrastructure funding gaps in the United States. So just a little bit of background, the United States is currently facing a $2 trillion investment gap in infrastructure, and this is significantly hindering economic growth as well as public safety. So to address this, the bill HR 4052, also titled the National Infrastructure Bank Act of 2021, proposes creating a government-owned National Infrastructure Bank to finance more long-term infrastructure projects. So specifically, the bank will loan to entities including states, public utilities, public-private partnerships, corporations, and this will all be for financing, developing, or operating eligible infrastructure projects. Just to go over some logistics, the National Infrastructure Bank will raise initial capital by issuing preferred stock with the total amount capped at $500 billion, and this is subject to board approval. So to attract initial investors, the NIB will pay semi-annual dividends on preferred stock. And finally, the NIB will also issue bonds and provide loans for infrastructure projects. And these are designed to generate revenue through interest payments and bond yields. So the big question is, why does it matter? So one of the most critical issues that we're facing in society today is a lack of affordable housing. So currently not enough homes are being built in the US to keep up with growing demand, and rents in the US have overall increased approximately 35.4% over the last 5 years, which is a lot. And nationally, there's a shortage of more than 7 million affordable homes for our nation's 11 million extremely low-income families. So additionally, the shortage of affordable housing costs the American economy around $2 trillion a year in lower wages and productivity. And we calculated the growth in GDP between 1964 and 2009 would have been 13.5% higher if families had actually better access to affordable housing. So overall, this comes up to about $1.7 trillion in increase in income, or $8.775 thousand in additional wages per worker. And what we're really trying to do throughout this project is make sense of why it's applicable to Maryland specifically. So as for transportation infrastructure, Maryland's transportation infrastructure is in dire need of upgrades following the Baltimore Bridge collapse. So on top of that, we have upgrades needed for our state roads, bridges, and transit systems. And many of them are in poor condition and need some sort of funding to make sure they are usable in the future. As for water infrastructure, we need clean and reliable water systems for public health and economic stability. And for our environmental and energy projects, Maryland has a standing commitment to making sure that we provide renewable energy as well as a environmentally sustainable state, which will need some additional funding from the NIB. And finally, job creation and economic growth. So creating the NIB will definitely stimulate job growth, and investing in infrastructure is a proven strategy for stimulating economic growth as well. And that brings an end to our project. If you have any questions, please feel free to speak up now.
Thank you, Sophia. I just want to explain this bill. This bill is called resolution. Resolution, that means something we are going to support what they are doing in the Congress. For example, if we pass this resolution, we're showing strong support from Maryland. That really put the pressure on the Congress and the Senate from Maryland especially, right? They're going to support this bill as well. And it's not really directly impact Maryland, right? This is called resolution. So that's the bill name. Right? Any other question from anybody else? Okay, this concludes our presentation for this group. Sophia and Jimmy, thank you. So next group, I think group 21, right?
Yes, Shava.
Yeah. Sophie, thank you. Okay, so, all right. Hello, everyone. This is group 21, and we're crafting a bill to ban neonicotinoid pesticides. Sophie, can you change the slide? Thank you. Okay, so neonicotinoids are used in farms in the United States to protect their crops from certain insects such as beetles and certain types of larvae. So one of the pros of this is that farmers have a higher crop yield, which means they make more money. But one of the cons is neonicotinoids actually affect bee populations. And this is one of the reasons the population of bees hasn't grown in the past few years. So the main reason is that, this is also the main reason that many states have banned neonicotinoids. But the problem is farms in Maryland are still allowed to use neonicotinoids. And this is a problem for our environment because neonicotinoids actually decrease the water quality and kill pollinators, such as bees.
So the research part, wait, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So banning neonicotinoid insecticides is crucial for protecting pollinator populations, which are essential for pollinating up to about 75% of the global food supply. Neonicotinoids significantly harm beneficial insects like bees, and reducing their foraging ability by 31% and shrinking colony sizes by up to 50%, even at the lowest exposure levels. Healthier bee populations are important for ecosystem sustainability, with 87% of flowering plants relying on animal pollinators. Reducing pesticides use will also benefit soil health, water quality, and biodiversity, as neonicotinoid contamination has led to a 33% decline in aquatic invertebrates. Economically, pollinators contribute to around 200 billion annually to global crop population production, and reducing pesticides can cut costs by up to 20% while boosting the market for organic products, which is growing by 9% annually. So public health will improve with reduced pesticide residues and enhancing consumer health and lowering healthcare costs. Promoting sustainable agriculture through these measures will support healthier communities and stronger local economies. And I think Sophie, okay. Next slide, please.
All right, okay. Sorry, my tabs got mixed up. Okay, so legislative recommendations. So in 2016, there was a act passed called the Pollinators Protection Act, which basically limited it's basically like limiting backyard usage of neonicotinoids. So if you're, just planting something in your backyard, you can't use it. But commercial farms and that kind of, businesses, organizations, aka the people that are using larger amounts of farmland, lots of farmland, those people are still able to have access to these coated seeds. And we propose that instead of limiting access to neonicotinoids, a ban would be better because there are still very accessible ways to get access to these pesticides. So we took a look at the website and the application process, and there's a fee that's generally like $50 to $100, and there's so many different ways to apply. Whether you're a commercial farmer, which is a lot larger than just a backyard farmer. And if you're a commercial farmer, if you're a business reliant on pesticides, there are so many different sectors that you can be in order to apply for this access. And the process is very easy. You take you take a test, you take like an acknowledgement test, kind of like a written test, like a concept test, a multiple choice test, like you do with your driver's license. And you take it every few years to renew your license, but the license is quite attainable, and it is able to help a lot of businesses, a lot of people who run commercial farms with maintaining those yields that are able to be gotten, these larger yields that are gotten from this pesticide. So this is actually still very prevalent. We couldn't find these specific numbers for how much usage is still present in Maryland, but just by looking at the process and by looking at the yields, the benefits of using this pesticide, these are very favorable yields, and the process is very easy. It is very easy to get access to this. So just because of that, it's really not helping bee populations or the environment. And this pesticide really is toxic for bees and other pollinators and their entire ecosystems. And because of that, we think that we recommend that this pesticide be completely banned, because limiting it is not really limiting it. You're just limiting access to people. You're limiting access off of store shelves, off into backyard gardens. But the real problems are those who have commercial farms and businesses that use acres and acres of these seeds. And those are the real problems, and those are not getting solved with the Pollinator Protection Act. And in order to protect the bees, the environment, and the pollinators, we have to ban this pesticide overall.
Okay, thank you. And I remember when I read your report in the middle, right? You provide a much broader scope of this one. Then eventually we said, how about narrow down? Because there's a reason people using all kind of peptide, right? So we want to make sure there's a balance in terms of banning a certain peptide, and then it's not a extreme hardship to the farming industry. So that's where we come to this neonicotinoid, right? This term comes from our constituents. They emailed me a lot. That's the reason I began to realize the word and realize the negative impact on bees. In reality, there are a lot of beekeepers in Howard County and many local jurisdictions. So I was kind of surprised. They have their beekeeping in their backyard or in some forest. It's pretty fun hobby for many people, and then they produce some local honey as well. It's pretty interesting hobby for many of them. So I think it's a good idea to really ban this pesticide and protect the environment and help improve the bees population as well. I really appreciate your research. So thank you very much. Any other questions for this group? Okay, so this concludes the presentation for this group. Let's move to the next one.
Next one will be elect judge on non-partisan basis. Morgan.
Yep, hello, I'm here today, but I think I'm the only one out of my group here.
So can you do the presentation yourself or?
Yep, definitely.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm in the middle of sharing my screen at the moment. All right, does that work?
Yes, we can see. Go ahead. Just the format is a little.
Oh yeah.
Maybe
Is there another way
share
I could
PDF.
share it through
Maybe
like
share PDF
Google
or
Drive?
something. Yeah. But it's fine. I think we can see majority of them. If you don't have anything else. Or you convert them to a PDF file, then share that will keep that formatting. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Is it all right if I use this format for now?
Yeah, just keep, yeah.
All right. So my topic was electing judges on a nonpartisan basis. So first off, what exactly are nonpartisan judicial elections? Nonpartisan judicial elections are a method of selecting judges in which candidates are listed on the ballot without any political party affiliation. And that method really focuses on the candidate's qualifications to be a judge rather than political affiliation or parties. And currently, this practice is used in 13 states for state Supreme Court judges and in various other states for lower courts as well. Overall, the purpose of this election system is promoting judicial impartiality and reducing political influence in the judiciary. And resultingly from this, the public usually has more trust in the judiciary, and they see that the judges have been elected based off of their own merit rather than political allegiance. So for a bit of background, currently judicial elections go through a governor appointing a judge through a nominating commission, which means that a governor would first appoint someone and that person would receive confirmation through a vote in the Senate, and they would face retention elections every 10 years from the public. Now, some potential issues that come out of this system are that there's potential political influence from the system in the way that judges feel pressured to affiliate with the political party to gain support and resources to run. And secondly, since the governor and the Senate are involved in confirming this judge, that might cause some people to feel that it has more of a partisan approach to it. And lastly, the retention elections suffer from low voter turnout, mostly due to people having less voting literacy and less information about these candidates, resulting in them voting based off of party affiliations or name recognition instead of merit. As for our research, we took a look at 3 specific case studies: Minnesota, Georgia, and West Virginia. Next to each of those states, we have the year in which each state converted to a nonpartisan judicial election system. And in each of these cases, we saw common themes of previously people believed and the constituents saw that the voting system was more partisan and they didn't feel properly represented by that system, which resulted in people wanting a change. And after enacting changes to this election system, future elections had less political pressure on judges to conform to a party and increased public trust in the judiciary, which led to increased voter engagement and voting literacy. And now here is my proposal for transitioning to a nonpartisan judicial system in Maryland. First off, this would require legislative changes which comes with the Maryland Constitution passing new laws to override existing requirements in order for judges to be elected on a nonpartisan basis. And secondly, that must receive approval by state legislature and voters. Secondly, the government should um, hold a public education campaign in which they provide clear information about how people can vote in the next judicial election and make sure that the public is educated about the nonpartisan judicial election system and all the benefits that come with it. And that involves outreach and transparency, which includes providing brochures, websites, and social media content to explain this process to the community, as well as hosting town hall meetings and partnering with local news outlets to ensure that the community is educated and informed. And lastly, we need to focus on transparency as well, which includes enacting contribution limits to donors and requiring detailed reports of all transactions during future judicial elections in order to ensure that these elections are truly nonpartisan and fair. Lastly, we just have some potential costs and potential savings in the fiscal aspects of this transition. So obviously passing legislation and also providing for all the costs related to outreach would be major costs for the state government in drafting, debating, and passing new legislation, as well as producing and distributing educational materials. But also in the future, this change would save a lot of money as well. And that is through a less politicized judiciary, which can reduce costs associated with litigation and dispute over judicial impartiality over time as we move forward with this new system potentially. And additionally, improved public trust in the judiciary would lead to more cost efficient court operations in which people truly believe that they're being represented by their judges. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Morgan. It's a great summary. Really appreciate that. So I think one part actually, there will be no associated extra cost in terms of the election itself, because basically you just change the ballot a little bit. In the past, the judges are showing on the Republican side, Democrat side. Now they just don't show at the party side, right? So it will be actually simpler for voters. And then the other issue is a lot of independent voters, they couldn't vote because those elections are we call a partisan election. Independent voters couldn't vote. Then for a lot of counties, we actually have a lot of independent voters. Maybe some counties have 30%. That means 30% of voters couldn't vote in the primary election for their judges. I think that's a huge concern in terms of really accountability and the transparency and eventually engagement. And as you said in your slide, trust, right? If they couldn't vote, I think they lose that trust of the judge we elected or the government we will hold them accountable. And it's a great presentation. Thank you very much. Any other else have any questions? Okay, so this concludes presentation 22. So let's move to the next one.
Next one is superintendent buyout limit, Team Athena.
Hi, my name's Athena. I did topic 23, superintendent buyout limits, along with Victoria and Morgan. Victoria, you're muted.
So for introduction, the superintendent of a county is basically a high-level executive in charge of managing the operations of a school district. So basically, they're in charge of the curriculum and making sure that every school is following the goals of the county. And the occurrence of superintendent buyout is basically when a superintendent ends their contract earlier than expected in exchange for monetary compensation from the board.
And in this research, our approach is we took a look at 10 cases, 6 of them from Maryland and 4 of them from other states. For each case, we analyzed the interested parties, stakeholder opinions, the reason for the buyout, and the specific amount of the buyout.
Like Victoria said, we analyzed 10 cases in total. We have 9 of them pictured here. One of them we couldn't get like numerical data on, so it's not pictured in this graph. But here the dark blue bars show the cases from Maryland, and the light blue ones are cases from outside of Maryland. And they show the percent of what the superintendent would have earned if they had fulfilled their contract. And this is just covering the monetary benefit from their salaries. So from the 100% line here, that's how much they would have gotten if they finished like the entirety of their contract. So you can see, especially from this, that in Maryland, we definitely need to set buyout limits because we have superintendents getting close to 200% or double of their whole contract just from the buyout. So it's definitely a big issue, and that's what we aim to address in our report.
So some factors to consider when deciding a superintendent buyout limit include individual circumstances, financial impacts, and the geographical location of the specific superintendent. And first off, as for individual circumstances, we consider the length of service that the superintendent has completed, the quality of their performance, as well as the terms of their original contract. As for financial impacts, we assess the school district's ability to absorb buyout costs without compromising the quality of education in that school system, as well as the total amount of money they're able to allocate from the budget to fund the buyout plan. And as for geographical location, we account for local policies and the cost of living, as well as the original superintendent salary, since those fiscal aspects usually vary from county to county, and we should take all of these into account when forming a buyout limit.
Here is our list of suggested buyout limits. So it's organized into 2 rows. So the top row here, based on section 2-203 of Maryland's educational article, there were some reasons outlined for a superintendent's resignation that aren't positive and usually lead to these huge buyouts. So the reasons that they listed in that document were immorality, misconduct in office, insubordination, incompetency, and willful neglect of duties. So if a superintendent resigns for any of those reasons, then we propose that they get at most 30% of their annual salary and a maximum of 3 months of whatever healthcare insurance they're given. Because when a superintendent is employed by the board, usually the board covers their healthcare insurance. And then the row below here is if they just resign for a more peaceful reason, and it's not for one like immorality or anything like that. So in those cases, we propose that they get at most 100% of their annual salary, so just 1 year's worth of money, and then they also have their healthcare insurance carried out to the end of their term, as well as a maximum of 1 year of their 401(b) retirement plan added to their account. And then the top corner here about reducing funding, we were inspired by a bill or a law in Texas that was passed where if a superintendent's buyout amount passes, exceeds the limits that were set by the state, then the state the next year they can reduce the district's funding for their education in that area. So that's sort of like a punishment for going over the buyout limit, and that hopefully prevents districts from paying their superintendents too much during buyouts. And then some additional recommendations that we had were that we should apply standardized guidelines for superintendent buyouts throughout the state, just so that we stay pretty consistent. We should maintain transparency and accountability during negotiations of buyout limits, and also employ periodic reviews of buyout limits to ensure that they best represent the interests of the superintendent, school district, and stakeholders. That's our presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Asina, Morgan, and Victoria. Right, so that's a great summary. I like the way you present the suggestions as well. I feel your team pretty generous, let's say that. And I would think about a term called golden parachute, something like that, right? So for corporate world, and there definitely needs some legislation to really limit the buyout situation, like like $1 million buyout. That's kind of doesn't make any sense. And I really appreciate your research, and we probably definitely going to propose this bill, and make sure your team get involved as well if you like. So any other questions for the team? Okay, so this will conclude presentation of this team. Next team, 24.
Next, we have prohibit state pension funds to invest cryptocurrency. Team Soha.
Hi, yes, I'm present. I can pull up the slides right now.
Okay, go ahead, Soha.
I believe I'm the only representative from my team, so if it's okay, then I'll be presenting on behalf of my group.
Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Give me just a moment to get the slides up. Sorry. Is it okay if you guys go ahead with group 25 and I present after them?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Sure. So the 25th is the ADA compliance on 50+ residential building. Is Raymond here? I guess not. Athena, will you be able to present?
Yeah, I can present for my team. I'm not really sure where Raymond and Nathan are, but I have our presentation, so I can present.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Our topic was topic 25, and it was about ADA compliance on residential buildings for seniors. So ADA being the Americans with Disabilities Act. So an overview for us was that we focused on the role of smoke detectors, and we determined that we should have smoke detectors that emit both light and noise installed in all buildings that have a lot of senior residents. So these ensure the safety of people aged 50+ in the event of house fires, and this helps people with hearing loss or impaired vision to be warned in the event of a house fire. And they will provide an additional layer of warning to people, even if they don't have hearing loss or visual impairments. So some background is that these sorts of smoke detectors became popular in the 1980s for affordability, and the National Fire Protection Agency, they had Law 74 that began requiring smoke detectors in new homes, and more laws have been passed to expand the use of smoke detectors to sleeping areas and interconnected systems. There's also other modern regulations requiring smoke detectors to have battery backups and regular maintenance. And overall, the evolution of smoke detectors has helped to better prevent deaths from fires. So from our research, we found that there are over 2.5 million residential homes in Maryland. Approximately 8% of US citizens suffer from visual impairments and 12% suffer from hearing impairments. There are over 350,000 house fires every year in the United States, and over 2.5 thousand civilian deaths due to said house fires every year. And studies also show that elderly people are more at risk of dying in house fires and are 2.2 times more likely to die than other age groups. So here's a table we found from our research that shows the 40-year projected increase in mild hearing loss among Americans. Mild hearing loss refers to hearing loss between 20 to 40 decibels, where you can still hear most of what you can hear if you had normal hearing, but you might have difficulty hearing soft sounds like rustling leaves or a bird chirping, and you might also have a bit of trouble hearing speech in noisy environments. We also have a table talking about the projected increase for people with moderate to complete hearing loss. Moderate refers to hearing loss from 41 to 60 decibels, and this means that you might miss out on some sounds that you could hear before. They have a bit of difficulty hearing speech at a normal level, but if you speak loudly, then they'll be able to hear. And at this point, hearing aids are heavily recommended. And as for complete hearing loss, people with this type of hearing loss can't really hear speech, and they can only hear very loud sounds like thunder or fireworks. They definitely need hearing aids or implants to hear, but even then, they still might not be able to hear what's being said. So we thought these tables would be important just to showcase that if we implement these smoke detectors, over time, they'll have an even greater impact just because so many more people are developing hearing loss. So in Maryland, overall, the prevalence of hearing loss at the moment is around 11%. And this shows us, again, that smoke detectors with with noise and visual help will help save many people's lives, especially since the amount of people projected to have hearing loss in the future is increasing steadily. We also looked a little bit into the monetary impact of new smoke detectors. So we couldn't find too much information in terms of commercial availability of smoke detectors, but some of the ones that we did find, the average cost for a smoke detector that had both audio and light alarm was between $16.95 and around $30. And again, we have over 2.5 million residential buildings in Maryland. So if we were to install one into every single building, would be between 42 million and $75 million, which sounds like a lot, but then we also looked a little bit at the Maryland General Assembly's yearly budget, and it was over, I believe, 60 million. So although this is a sizable amount, we believe that it is an important investment to ensure the health of our citizens. That's it for the presentation.
Thank you, Asana. Go back to your previous page, right? So first, we are not paying for that, right? So our company will not pay that. Second one, when you make this kind of numbers, you need some other assumptions, right? When you think about the issue, we focus on this for ADA compliance. That means your 2.5 million buildings will go down dramatically because we only focus on 50 plus residential, right? So you need to do that. Then you need to have another multiplier. Maybe some of them have installed this smoke detector already, right? Maybe only 10%, 20%, or 30% need to install that. That means the amount of really money spent on here can be substantially low, right?
Yeah, this is sort of like the.
But I really like the way you have numbers, right? That's the way that encourage every group. Think about how much money may cost. Even the money is not from like state government. It come from the builder or from residential homes, right? But it's still the money spent. At the same time, once installed, it'll be there for 10 years, right? And then I think that can significantly reduce the risk of fire related death. So that can be sometimes unmeasurable, right? Because it's a life. So, okay, great job. I really appreciate that. Anybody have any question on this presentation? Okay, this concludes presentation 25. Let's go to the last one, 24.
Hi, I can present now. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, please go ahead, Soha.
Hey, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so our group's topic was prohibiting the state pension fund investment in cryptocurrency, and the interns that worked on this were myself, Soha Mahapatra, Raymond Chen, and Evan Troust. So before we get into our actual research, I just want to go over a couple definitions. So cryptocurrency are digital currencies that operate on an unregulated online medium. They've shown significant historical gains, but are highly volatile and pose substantial cybersecurity and financial risks. As for what a state pension fund is, state pension funds are investment pools established and maintained by state governments to provide retirement benefits to public sector employees. They're designed to ensure that public sector employees receive financial support during their retirement years. So now going into a little bit about our research and what we found about cryptocurrencies. So in terms of the historical performance of different cryptocurrencies, the S&P 500, which is a broad index of US equities, historically shows an average annual return rate of about 7 to 10%, with a standard deviation of around 15%. This indicates modern volatility. Now I want to compare Bitcoin, a very popular cryptocurrency standard deviation, which often exceeds 50%, highlighting the extraordinary volatility inherent in cryptocurrency investments. This difference in standard deviation shows that cryptocurrencies historically are not safe and standardized investments. As for the regulatory landscape when it comes to crypto, the SEC classifies cryptocurrencies as actual securities, similar to stocks that you would see on the S&P 500. The CFTC oversees cryptocurrency derivatives. The IRS treats cryptocurrency as property for tax purposes, so any income from crypto can be taxed. And in terms of in the past, China has recently banned cryptocurrency, while Brazil has allowed for broader use with crypto between its citizens. So we can see that in the world, there are a lot of different approaches to crypto and crypto markets. As for how Marylanders feel, 2/3 of Marylanders are concerned about potential tax increases to address the $20.1 billion shortfall in the Maryland state retirement and pension system. And how this relates to crypto is that potentially if we invest in cryptocurrency, the state pension fund, it could grow the fund and result in less tax increases just due to cryptocurrency's recent success in terms of profit. However, nearly half of Maryland voters supported transitioning future state employees to 401k style retirement accounts, reflecting a desire for greater investment flexibility and reduced risk exposure for taxpayers. So on one hand, this is showing a desire for more investment and more diversified investment, but the reduced risk exposure fact shows that taxpayers do not want their retirement funds invested in volatile currencies or volatile investments. Now, 14% of Marylanders currently own cryptocurrency, with an additional 12% having previously owned it, indicating a growing acceptance of the currency itself. Now, our team is also working on a survey for Marylanders to discuss what their knowledge of cryptocurrency and state pension funds are and how their opinion is specifically to state and pension fund investment in cryptocurrency. So that survey is definitely going to add to this public sentiment information. Now, as for the risk evaluation, as we kind of mentioned before, cryptocurrencies are extremely volatile and their prices are very subject to rapid and unpredictable fluctuations. Because they are a digital and very decentralized, unregulated currency, there is a lot of susceptibility to hacking and theft. And they can experience reduced liquidity, which means that it's really hard to get the actual monetary value from crypto. And the regulatory uncertainty and like the lack of regulation in general for crypto makes a significant risk in investment of it. So in terms of our summary, we've seen that there's a necessary need for a thorough risk assessment when considering cryptocurrency investments, just because there is a potential for high returns, but also significant financial instability. So our suggested actions are maintaining a conservative investment approach, which means being very wary when going into crypto, strengthening regulatory oversight overall, both with state pension fund management and in general over crypto and Marylanders' interaction with crypto. Also improving transparency and communication to ensure that any cryptocurrency transactions are very transparent, because that is the biggest issue with crypto, is that there's really no record, and that leaves room for a lot of sketchy or not very good transactions to occur. And as well as exploring alternatives to cryptocurrency when investing. In the past, the pension fund has been invested in private securities and hedge funds. So there are a lot of different alternatives that would probably be, although maybe not the highest of returns initially, really just a better, more secure approach for the future of Marylanders' financial retirement plans. So I just want to say a very special thanks to the Office of Delegate Vu for their guidance and support during this internship. We sincerely appreciate the opportunity to conduct this research and present it. And with that, does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Soho, and for your group, and really appreciate that. I think it's a great summary. Talk about the especially with the survey and the conducting those surveys of public sentiment and others, it definitely help you understand why we want to limit the use of cryptocurrency in the pension fund, right? It's some topics maybe a lot of people are not familiar with that. You need to do a lot of research, understanding what's happening. I think your group did a good research on that. Thank you. So any other question from anyone still here? Okay, so thank you. I just want to conclude this, really appreciate the support from our interns, especially from our chief of staff, Jody Wang. Can we give applause to Jody, right? And Jody really put everything together, and thank you very much. And thank you for Judy to step in to listen tonight as well. And every other people in my office to support this summer internship. I really had the pleasure and really enjoyed working with every one of you. I hope these are really our exploration to see how we can work with young people, get you guys involved in terms of public policy, advocacy, and part of politics as well. And it's research, right? So we do most of them remotely at the same time. I really enjoyed have the in-person session as well. I hope everyone have something you can take back during your school year, come back very soon, and learn the skills, the knowledge you learn through the intern can be helpful for your coursework, for your like high school or college academics as well. So beyond that, I want to just talk about, I really hope every group, if you didn't hear from us, that means your report is ready, it's fine. If you hear from us, that means we want you make some final corrections, revisions on your report. And please share your PowerPoint slide with us as well. And we are looking forward to work with some of you or like with some fields, right, associated with the research. If you have interest, continue this research and intern with us during the fall, right? Let us know. We're happy to talk with you, think about any opportunities we're going now through the fall to next spring when we open our new legislative session on, I think, January 8th next year. So that's all tonight. And I really appreciate the opportunity to work with every one of you, and have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Barry.